Most people have never made a serious investment before. Those who have usually play it safe, putting their money into an index fund, hoping for steady returns every year. Some take a bolder route, buying real estate or betting everything on a promising startup. But then there are the stories from today's video. 3 investments that didn't just double in a year or give a 10% return annually. These were investments that delivered returns in the millions and in some cases, the billions. Make sure you stick around to the end of the video where we dive into the greatest investment of all time and how it all went horribly wrong. Number 3. How a $1,000 gamble became a $450 million masterpiece.
400 million, Leonardo Salvatore Mundi selling here at Christie's. $400 million is the bid, and the piece is sold.
A lost masterpiece, a $1,000 gamble, and a sale that would make history. This is the story of how an unknown painting bought for just $1,000 turned into the most expensive artwork ever sold for nearly $500 million. In 1958, an American man named Warren Kuntz and his wife were on holidays in the UK when they stumbled upon an old, worn-out painting at an auction. It was selling for just £45, the equivalent of around $500 today. Thinking nothing of it, they took it home, completely unaware that they just purchased missing work of Leonardo da Vinci. Fast forward to 2005, the same painting, now forgotten and still assumed to be worthless, appears at an auction in New Orleans. One man takes notice, an art dealer by the name of Robert Simon, but even he doesn't think much of it at first. Still, he takes a $1,000 gamble and buys it, a cheap price for a centuries-old painting, but he had no idea just how valuable it truly was. For years, Simon didn't know what he had, but then he brought the painting to Diane Modestini, an expert in artwork restoration. The painting was in ruins, torn into 5 pieces and covered in centuries of dirt, dust and varnish. But as Modestini carefully restored it over 5 years, she began to see something incredible. Using ultraviolet light scans, they discovered that the brush strokes, the layering and the pigments in the painting were strikingly similar to those used by Leonardo da Vinci. Could it really be a lost Da Vinci painting? Simon was no longer collecting nice artwork. He was now in a race to restore this painting and sell it for as much money as he could. Simon and Modestini had gotten the painting looking as close to its original form as they could through years of careful, hard work. And now it was time to find a buyer. In 2013, they were successful in their mission, as Simon sold it to a Swiss art dealer for an astonishing $80 million, a return on investment of over 8 million%. But the story doesn't end there, because just 5 years later, in 2017, that same painting would sell again, this time for a record-breaking $450 million, setting the world record for the most expensive painting in history. The buyer was a Saudi prince, and since that day, the painting has never been seen in public since. Even Robert Simon himself admitted in interviews that he doesn't even know where it is. Some believe it's hidden away on a private yacht, others think it's locked in a vault, but the truth, no one knows. From a $1,000 gamble to a $450 million treasure. This wasn't just a smart investment, it was a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Robert Simon even wrote a book detailing his journey from buying the painting, restoring it, and selling it for a monster profit, earning him even more from his initial investment, a gamble that truly paid off. Number 2. How Peter Thiel turned $500,000 into $1 billion with just one investment. Angel investing is one of the riskiest ways to grow your wealth, backing unproven startups with nothing but a vision. In 2004, a man named Peter Thiel placed a bet that would change his life and the world forever. A $500,000 gamble on a social media site built in a college dorm. That site was Facebook, and the founder was Mark Zuckerberg. This is the story of how Peter Thiel became a billionaire from one risky investment. Before becoming one of Silicon Valley's most influential investors, Peter Thiel was a student at Stanford University studying philosophy. He believed education was the key to success. Thiel wasn't just another investor, he was looking for secrets and to dominate.
If you're a founder or entrepreneur, what you want to aim for is monopoly. You want to aim to build a company that is one of a kind and that it's so far differentiated from the competition that it's not even competing.
Peter Thiel was looking for what he called hidden truths about the world that most people overlooked, and when he met a 19-year-old Mark Zuckerberg, he saw potential. At the time, social media was almost non-existent. Platforms like MySpace were barely gaining any traction, and the idea that people would spend hours every day online connecting with strangers was laughable to most people. Even Zuckerberg struggled to convince investors that Facebook could be more than just an idea. But Thiel saw something others didn't: the potential of social media before anyone else. Zuckerberg too faced challenges. He struggled to keep the site running, faced legal battles from fellow students who claimed that he stole the idea from them, and even considered selling Facebook for $1 billion to Yahoo. But Thiel advised him against it, believing Facebook's potential was far greater.
And the two of us said, well, maybe we should. We should. $1 billion is a lot of money. You're 22 years old. You'll get 250 million. There's a lot you could do with $250 million. And then Mark said, well, I don't actually know what I would do with the money. I'd probably just start another social networking company, but I already have one, so why would I sell it? And I would submit that any super successful, super big tech company is one where you've been offered multiple times. People have offered to buy it, and you've chosen never to sell it.
Many well-known investors like Reid Hoffman, co-founder of LinkedIn, passed up on the opportunity to invest in Facebook. But Thiel took the risk, and as they say, take the risk or lose the chance. Thiel wasn't involved in the day-to-day operations at Facebook, but he didn't need to be. The platform grew rapidly, and by 2012, when Facebook went public, it was valued at nearly $100 billion. Thiel made the decision to pull the trigger and sell 16.8 million of his shares for over $630 million. Number 1. The $669 million mistake, the greatest investment that never was. The final and greatest ever investment was one that ended tragically, and you've probably heard about it before: the 10,000 Bitcoin pizza. But nobody talks about what happened to the guy that got paid the 10,000 Bitcoin for 2 pizzas. If you haven't heard of the story, in May 2010, Bitcoin was just an idea. One man that did use Bitcoin at the time was Laszlo Hanyats, a programmer who made a simple post on a Bitcoin forum: I'll pay 10,000 Bitcoin for 2 large pizzas. It sounds ridiculous now, but at the time, that was worth about $40. For days, no one accepted, but then a 19-year-old named Jeremy Sturdivant agreed. He ordered 2 Papa John's pizzas for Laszlo, paying with his debit card, and received 10,000 Bitcoin in return.
So how did you actually buy a pizza?
I just posted on the forum. I said, if anybody's interested, I'm offering 10,000 Bitcoins in exchange for some pizza. And somebody there said, hey, I'll take you up on that offer. So I sent him the 10,000 Bitcoin. I said, okay, here it is. I'm waiting for my pizza. And, he phoned it in, he paid with his credit card, and the pizza showed up at my door.
Back then, Bitcoin was worth almost nothing. Jeremy had mined all of his Bitcoin, so it was practically free pizza for him. But what he didn't know was that 10,000 Bitcoin would one day be worth $970 million as of February 2025. And here's the painful part: Jeremy, that received the 10,000, didn't even hold on to his Bitcoin. He sold it all shortly after for a bit of cash to fund a trip with his girlfriend. Almost $1 billion gone on a single holiday. Jeremy admitted to regretting his decision to sell, whereas Laszlo, on the other hand, made the point that if he never made the transaction, Bitcoin may not be where it is today. It proved that Bitcoin could be used in the real world, sparking its rise to global dominance. If Jeremy had held on, he'd be sitting on nearly $970 million today. But hindsight is 2020, and the real question is, what opportunities are we missing out on right now? Sometimes the greatest investments are the ones we never see coming, and sometimes they're the ones that we let slip away. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out my next video for similar content to this one.